Urdu. See, I made a video similar to this one, but about Persian. And it's safe to say I made a few mistakes. And that's putting it nicely. Well, Persian is my first language. And neither is Urdu. But I'm a fluent speaker of Urdu. And I cannot say the same for Persian. Now, Urdu doesn't hit like English. And it doesn't stack consonants like German. And it doesn't snap the same way Arabic does. And in many ways, it's a lot similar to Persian. As in, it flows, it lingers, kind of rests inside the mouth. Now, this video isn't about whether Urdu is beautiful, because that's subjective. But it is about what structural choices in the language create that sound and why Urdu feels the way it does. Point number one, similar to Persian, long vowels, right? The first thing you hear in Urdu, not really consonants, it's the vowel that carries the sound forward, right? Urdu allows vowels to be long, sustained, and therefore kind of meaningful, if that makes sense. For example, bat, meaning speech or matter, rat, meaning night, yad, meaning memory, or pyar, being one of the ways to say love. And you notice the ah sound, it doesn't rush to the end of the word, it kind of just sits. And you can compare that to English. Night, it's cut off. Thought, also kind of cut off. Love, you can see it's compressed. And Urdu vowels, they're open-ended. That kind of creates a continuous sound wave instead of jagged peaks. This alone changes the entire musicality of the language. Number two, retroflex consonants. They add depth and not sharpness. Urdu uses retroflex consonants, which is sounds made by curling the tongue slightly back, like here are some examples. Remember, they're heavier than English consonants, but they're not aggressive. Anyway, here are some examples. Badi baat hai, it's a big deal. Thehr jao, stop or stay, and ladka, meaning boy. You see these type of features in other languages. For example, quite prevalently in Pashto. For example, lar shape khorta kamis torma la raura taza taza guluna dresalor ba la raura. I don't know why I added that in there. I think I just kind of wanted to flex. That's not even a flex. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that a lot. Anyway, the it doesn't snap, right? It lands. And that gives Urdu a grounded, relatively weighted sound. Like the words, they have mass, you know. Anyway, it's probably one of the reasons why Urdu feels warm rather than sharp. Point number three, Persian vocabulary. Come on, like I can just not stop glazing this language. Persian vocabulary smooths the phonetics. You have to admit it, right? A massive portion of Urdu comes from Persian. And so generally Persian avoids harsh consonant clusters like I mentioned in my last video. And that means Urdu inherits the soft transitions, the open syllables, and the minimal friction between sounds. For example, zindagi, meaning life, khayal, meaning thought, mohabbat, meaning love, and dard, meaning pain. These words glide rather than collide, if that makes sense, and you rarely get the verbal equivalent of a traffic jam. The result, Urdu sentences feel relatively unbroken even when they're long. And that kind of helps with poetry too. Now, point number 4. Whenever I think of this point, I think Sanskrit. I don't know why, I just do. There may be some sort of connection, but Urdu has a lot of aspirated consonants. Aspirated sounds, right? They add breath to the speech. It's like literally sounds that release air. For example, khamoshi, meaning silence, gum, meaning grief, bhul jana, meaning to forget, and thak gaya, meaning got tired. You can literally hear the breath in these words. You can literally hear the exhale, like the like the Anyway, this gives Urdu a slightly exhaled quality for certain parts of its sentences, which subconsciously kind of reads as calm. Like, like a exhale, calm. You just kind of make the equation. Calm, emotional, reflective. And that almost makes the speech sound like it's being felt. Like you can feel it, and not like it's being fired, like, if that makes sense. Another point similar to Persian. Point number 5. Stress is evenly distributed throughout the sentence. English is stress heavy. For example, like in my old video, I said, I'm going to the store. Gosh damn it, bro. You're going to the store. Like, you're going to the store. You're just killing some vowels and you're letting some vowels inflate. Again, like photography, photograph. When you use that in a sentence, you can see how English gets kind of chopped up, right? That makes it stress heavy. Some words get punched and others get swallowed. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Now, Urdu kind of does that, but it doesn't do it aggressively in the same way that English does. Stress is spread across the sentence and it's not concentrated. For example, mujhe nahi pata or mujhe nahi pata tha, meaning I don't know or I didn't know. Another example, tum kab aaye the, meaning when did you come? Questions. They don't spike too sharply. I mean, unless you really make the tone kind of whatever. You get me enough, right? And that's why Urdu can sound gentle even when relatively angry, and things can get emotional without getting too loud. Point number 6. Again, similar to Persian. Poetry is not separate from daily speech. Poetry, yes, we love poetry. Urdu didn't develop poetry later. Poetry was there from the beginning. And that means everyday phrases often follow metrical balance, sometimes even unintentionally. For example, these are very common phrases, by the way. Baat adhuri reh gayi. Literally, the matter remained unfinished. Or dil manta nahi. Literally, the heart doesn't accept it. Waqt guzarta chala gaya. Time kept passing. These lines have rhythm without even trying. And so the cadence is almost built in. And that's why Urdu sounds poetic even when someone could just be explaining like what happened. Now, I'm running out of fingers here, but point number 7. This is less about how the language sounds and you're kind of diving deeper into the actual meaning of words, but Urdu names emotional states, not just actions. Urdu doesn't always describe what happened. Sometimes it describes how it exists inside you. For example, udasi, meaning sadness, bechani, meaning restlessness, sukun, meaning peace, and ghabrahat, meaning anxiety. Now, these aren't verbs. They're conditions of being. That abstraction, right, slows the language down, and it makes it introspective by default, if that makes sense. Now, again, I'm flipping running out of fingers, but... Wait, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. 8. Words are meant to be stretched. Urdu allows emotional stretching without breaking correctness. For example, ha, meaning yes, acha, meaning okay, and nahi, meaning no. These vowels are way too commonly stretched or cut off short. There's just so much versatility with those types of words, and lengthening a vowel doesn't make it sloppy like it does in some other languages. It makes it quite expressive, and this makes Urdu really flexible in tone. You can get sarcasm, hesitation, affection, disappointment, all without changing vocabulary. So, to wrap it all up into a nice shawarma so you guys can eat well tonight, Urdu doesn't sound the way it does because it's emotional, but rather it sounds emotional because it was designed to carry emotion smoothly, if that makes sense. With the long vowels, soft landings, even stress, breath in the confidence. This is the second time I'm making that mistake. I made the exact same mistake in my Persian video. Breath in the consonants, and poetry embedded in daily speech. And that's why, even if sometimes you don't understand the language, you flippin' feel it. तो भाइयों बहनों, इन वीडियो को बनाने के लिए बहुत टाइम लगता है। बहुत शुक्र होगा आपकी अगर आप लाइक कर सकते हो उस वीडियो को, अगर आप सब्सक्राइब भी कर सकते हो मेरा चैनल को, और मैं आपको देखूँगा कहीं ना कहीं। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।